Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 2 of the SimRacing Expo Podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Luke Crane, and I am joined by the ever beautiful Danny Giusa. How you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm super fine. I hope you're as well.
Yep, I'm still alive, so, you know, for some that's good, for some it isn't. But if it is good for you, tough. So we've done our first ever episode, and it was up on Spotify. It was up on all of the platforms, Danny, with Jimmy. I think it was received pretty well. But how did you receive it?
So basically, I edited the episode, and to be honest, I need to listen to it more often to do the edit. But I found like Jimmy changed a lot. Like I feel like he's very settled now with him in his position, and as a father, as a person, as a husband, was actually very nice to listen to be honest.
I'm not sure he's a husband quite yet. Let's not throw him under the bus 100%. He pretty much are. I will say one thing about Jimmy. I think he's the most comfortable he's ever been in his own skin. And that is probably the biggest objective of any human being. So, yeah, no, it's great to chat to him. Always good to talk about sim racing and the real world of racing, and obviously being a dad as well. There's not very many sim racers that have managed to become dads as of yet, but that will change over time. That's obviously a joke, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get upset.
You didn't ask him one question, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because somebody said in Formula One, if you become a dad, you're losing like 1/2 a second. So,
yeah,
is Jimmy now slower?
Well,
what's happening?
I've got 3 children, and so that technically means I've lost 4.5 seconds, and I can tell you that is absolutely true. So yeah, not good. Maybe I was just slow in the first place. Right, Danny. What about the latest news of the Sim Expo? So this is the part of the show where we just talk about the latest news, maybe some new stuff on the website. Let's talk about some of the other things to do with the actual expo itself, and then we'll get into our guest, which today is Kevin Siggi.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hear Kevin, to be honest. But regarding the SimRacing Expo news, I mean, you're sharing a bit of pain that I have with editing the website and everything. But we have a completely new website with a new style, as you can see in my background, to be honest. And I think the biggest news actually is if you go over to visitors, and we already have the whole plan up. And the exhibitors listed by categories, and it's astonishing, to be honest, that we already have about 30 exhibitors in February, and internally we're already above 40. But there's like all the kind of communications and organization and discussions about the floor plan and the spaces of the exhibitors that become an exhibitor. And what I can say already is like we don't have enough space, or we have not so much space anymore on hall 3, with even like half of the exhibitors compared to last year. So basically what I want to say with my basic English is that all the exhibitors that are already signed up, which you also can see on the website, already took more space than last year, which is, I think, a good sign for us, but way more positive for the industry, because you can't get more space if you don't have more budget the next year. So I think that's very positive for the SimRacing industry and for the outlook for SimRacing hardware manufacturers or software producers. Yeah.
Well, that's good news for the consumer, right? So if you want to get your tickets, you can get your tickets now. Like Danny said, it's well ahead of last year's schedule in terms of companies or exhibitors taking up the space. So it should be an absolute banger of a year. Also, the newsletter went live yesterday for this month. What can people expect to see from that this week or this month?
So yeah, in the newsletter of this month, we obviously talked about the first podcast, the new website. We updated also the merch because last year we had the 10 years anniversary merch, and now updated to all the new colors. And for all subscribers, we include a small discount code for Easter. Maybe you sign up now, and for the next one, you as well get the code in there. So it's always worth to sign up to our newsletter. Especially, we want to try to include also in the next editions some news which maybe not also public. So sweet news from exhibitors that maybe share news only with us and our newsletter family. So yeah, that's I think also a valid point to join our newsletter system, and only once a month. I hate spamming people with newsletters, so once a month, 5 to 8 news, nothing more, nothing less.
There you go. So you might get some exclusive deals just by signing up for our monthly newsletter. Right, Danny, I think Kevin Siggi is one of the very best sim racers the world has ever seen. He's not going to want to admit to that, but he's not here quite yet, so I can bring that point up. So before we do indeed go and talk to Kevin, I'm going to ask you and put you on the spot. Who are the best 5 all-time sim racers in esports history?
All time is really good. So there's no ranking on that, what I'm going to mention or who I'm going to mention, but it's Martin Krönke, Gregor Rutu, Josh Rogers, Sebastian Job. And the 5th one is very hard, to be honest, but currently I feel like Thomas Ronhard, to be honest, because he's joined very late the party. All of the names are for a long time already in SimRacing. But since he's moved away from F1 eSports, so he's still driving with F1 eSports, obviously, but is doing iRacing, and he's now above 10K. It's very hard to be successful in many.
Get to 11. I think he's a driver that's got to 11
already. Yeah. And that's a good segue actually to Kevin, because I really try to think about it. I don't know if there's any driver with 4 World Championship titles in 4 different sims. So that's actually crazy.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Well, Danny, thank you for your time. And without further ado, I've written it down just to make sure that I get this intro correct. 26-year-old Slovenian sim racer who has amassed an unbelievable resume, including in 2024, he became the EWC, should I say, Rennsport Drivers Champion, even though he headbutted the steering wheel. A DTM Esports 2022 champion, LMVS Le Mans win and Team Championship win in 2021. Formula Pro Drivers and Team Championship in 2022. And he won the V10R Teams Championship in 2021 when he was a representative of BMW, and the McLaren Shadow winner in 2019. Oh, I cannot wait to bring you Mr. Kevin Siggi. And here he is. It's Kevin Siggi. Mate, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Can't complain. I've come in the presence of absolute greatness. I know you're not going to want to admit it, but in my opinion, you are one of the very best sim racers in the world. We'll get to that a little bit later on when we talk about your Mount Rushmore of sim racers, actually. Obviously, you can't mention yourself, but yeah, there we go. Right, so first of all, if there are anybody in the sim racing sphere who have no idea who you are, which I'm not sure there are, but yeah, just let everyone know who you are.
Well, I mean, as you can tell, my name is Kevin Siggi. I'm from Slovenia. I'm 26 years old, and I'm a professional sim racer for Team Redline. Snap.com Team Redline, actually. So I've been doing this for about, I think, 12 years now, on to my 13th. And yeah, I've been doing it ever since, like, the early teenage years. And I've been achieving a lot, luckily. Luckily also with Redline a lot. So yeah, it's been an eventful, let's say, 13 years.
That's crazy to me because I've known you for about 6 years, I think, at this point. And, you know, that to know that you're already, 6-7 years into your sim racing is quite mind blowing. But going back to the beginning, what was the first interest you took in motorsport or gaming specifically?
Honestly, I don't properly remember. I think it was in the early days when I was like, I think 4 or 5 when I had my PlayStation 1. I used to play F1 98, I believe it was. I can't remember if it was 98 or 96, but one of those games on PS1. And obviously I got hooked up into that, and also Toka touring cars on the PS1. That got me excited as well, because I also remember the most amount of things that I drove, the most amount of laps I drove on the track was like Silverstone, the old National or whatever it's called. Not National, but the original Grand Prix layout, basically. And that one was like the coolest thing I did for like pretty much on a daily basis at home. And afterwards, I mean, it's just most of the times going to hill climb events with my parents. They got me into it. And also, ever since I got my first rig when I was 12 or 11-ish, that's when I kind of wanted to go into the actual sim racing part of it.
It has to be F1 98. I'm pretty sure it had Mika Hakkinen on the front, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
his car. Yeah. For I think it was his car. I could be wrong, and I'm sure there are going to be people in the comments that'll let me know if I'm wrong. They love to do that. And Toka touring cars is like maybe the greatest. I will never play that game again, just because I know it will be ruined for me forever. I think it's the best game of all time.
I bet you it's absolutely horrendous
it's
nowadays.
terrible.
But yeah, it was the best thing ever back in the day.
It was GTA before GTA because you could unlock the tank, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
Just blow up Plato menu out in the front. When did you first take an interest in motorsport? Like specifically, when did you obviously gaming's one thing, right? You get a racing game and it's all great. And then motorsport comes into it. When did you take your first interest in it?
Well, I guess, I mean, I was brought up quite early in motorsport because of my family. My dad did a couple of races in real life with some very cheap cars, to be honest. And also my mom is a fanatic in cars. She loves cars, especially American ones. So I was kind of born into a, let's say, racing family, let's say, a motorsport loving family. But I think I was also brought to like circuits to watch racing cars as a young kid. But when it came to actual motorsports, in the first time, I think it was when I was watching F1 in 2004, I believe it was the first time when I saw like Michael Schumacher winning all the races, and I just kind of got hooked up into that, and I loved it ever since. I mean, I'm still watching it. I'm obviously racing in it. Hopefully to do something in real life as well, and yeah, I mean, that's how it really went, and that's how it's still going.
No, one for sure. God, the 2004, that Ferrari, what a car that was, by the way. Unbelievable. And the driver, right? Again, you get
both.
Seeing it right now in Formula One, and we've seen it in the past with Seb Vettel, we've seen it with Lewis Hamilton as well. Like, you give the best driver on the grid the best car, it's just, what can you do? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's overpowered, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about some of the teams that you've raced for. So obviously, you're Team Redline. You're like the most settled you've ever been. You've been here for a long time. But you've been in SimRacing for a long time now. You're one of, as much as you're, 26 years old, you're quite a young man. You've been around forever, in my eyes. So let's just talk about your sort of journey in SimRacing.
I mean, it all started, I mean, I was driving by myself still in 2012. I mean, the first proper, like, let's say, racing experience was, I think it was 2009. We were driving in like we have like this little this big supermarket complex, I would say, whatever it's called, and they had like 3 F1 cockpits in there. So that's the first time I actually delved into actual sim racing competition, and I did pretty well. But actual like team wise, I mean, I started in 2012 on iRacing, funny enough, and then proceeded to go to R Factor 1, one of the more iconic games, let's say, iconic sims. And the first team I sort of started with was a Spanish team called Positive Sim Racing. Obviously quite ironic as well, considering I'm usually portrayed as one of the negative guys.
Hold on.
Yeah, I mean,
you're portrayed? You portray yourself. Let's not get it twisted.
Let's do both, I guess. But it's in both ways, right? But that's where I started with. I was kind of trying to get in any sort of team. I was watching Formula C racing at the time, the likes of Powerhouse, Jeffrey, Atze, and many others. And yeah, I just wanted to be part of one of the teams. I got brought up with them. Sort of stayed with them. I think I can't remember, like 4 or 5 years as well. So pretty long. But then I sort of kind of went forward with like a different iRacing teams, such as Torrent, went to Edge eSports for R Factor 2 stuff, Seto Corsa. Then obviously later on McLaren Shadow for like a month, and left for Team Redline. Now I'm settled in Team Redline ever since, and I've been loving it ever since the first day.
That is one of the funniest things I've ever experienced in sim racing. Like, I commentated on you winning the McLaren Shadow project, which gave you a seat for McLaren Shadow, which is they're still kind of called McLaren Shadow, but they're not. And a month later, I'm like, hold on, he's had this massive opportunity. Now he's racing for Team Redline. And like Team Redline weren't the powerhouse they are now. They're huge, right? But they weren't the powerhouse that they are now. So it's a bit like, oh, hold on, that's a bit of a risk. Obviously, if it was 2025, it's not a risk at all, right? So it was just a very, very strange thing to see, but obviously it's worked out okay, Kev. You've done all right out of it.
Honestly, funny enough, when I was like watching the iRacing scene, because I wasn't really paying attention too much. I did New Endurance, obviously, with Torrent at the time, different team that I just did only iRacing with. I've always seen Redline at the top and Kwanda, as we'd like to call them, Kanoda, right? yeah, there was always those two teams at the top, and I always sort of liked their liveries back in the day, like I think the 2016-15 era as well. So that's where I sort of saw that team most of the time. So I think, well, like you said, they were a powerhouse still at the start because they had, Gregor Hutu. They had out. They got Max at that time as well. So Enzo ever since I think 2012 for a long time. So I think they were a powerhouse ever since. But luckily for me, I joined at a specific time as well where I could grow myself and become what I am. Because I think if I would have joined now, I think I would have had slightly smaller chances to be where I'm at today because of all the circumstances that happened, obviously, 5 years ago with the likes of me moving here, Netherlands, and studying, and also the combination of winning McLaren Shadow, right? So it kind of brought me to that space. But yeah, I mean, it's quite cool to be doing this for a while now. And there's no better way of doing it than Redline, I'd say.
Well, you mentioned Atza twice at that time as one of the best sim racers around, and I'm sure he's paid you to say that because that's mind blowing to me. I wonder if there's a third time that's going to pop out.
Maybe.
Let's talk about Redline a little bit more in regards to, again, you've been with lots of teams. What's the dynamic like at Redline, and what's the difference between, being a part of a powerhouse opposed to maybe more of a community feel teams over past years?
I'd say, well, to be part of such a team, I mean, the cool thing is that everyone's very talented. That's the first thing, because obviously in other teams that I was with, not everyone was at the top. So I kind of had to sort of lead the way sometimes and learn myself. Now I can actually learn from other people, from other really good drivers, whether it's on the iRacing scene, on any other scene, for example. But yeah, it's a bit of a different dynamic. I mean, I've never had any problems with anyone in other teams. I mean, at Torrent, I had a lot of fun as well. As also Edge eSports, I had a lot of fun as well when speaking to my teammates and everything, meeting them in LAN events. I think you remember me and Jim Parisis. I'm not sure if you probably remembered watching us a couple of times or commentating on us as well. But when it comes to Redline in general, I think this is like the best of everything that I've been with, because we just get along so easily, and like a big family. Basically, you got people like Lalom and Bennett and Enzo and a lot. I mean, I think it's everyone that we sort of get along very, very well, and we can literally joke about anything you want with each other and tell each other what we think. There's no one that's really left out too much, and I think we seem to enjoy each other's company, whether it's online or in real life as well, the most. So that's the biggest thing, really. But the second biggest thing also is, for me, since I work at the office, I get to work with Atze on a daily basis, especially now when he's a bit more at the office. Finally, we can sort of or at least I can learn a lot more from him on the sides of other things that he's really, really good at. So yeah, that kind of dynamic is also quite nice, to be able to work with people such as, everyone in the field, with Max, and with the other drivers. It's quite cool, and it's, yeah, like I said before, the best it's ever been. And I've obviously enjoyed the past 5 years I've been with the team, and I want to continue with that.
I've obviously known you for a while now, Kevin, and you're quite a closed book, I would say, for a large part of that. Obviously, we get on very, very well. So to me specifically, maybe not so much, but to everyone else, it takes kind of a lot to, I don't know, open you up, if that makes sense. Yeah, that wasn't meant in that way at all to any naughty people out there. But yeah, specifically in the last sort of 12 to 14 months, obviously you've been coming and helping me, being the host of the watch-alongs for iRacing on the Redline channel. Have you noticed a change in yourself as well, being able to kind of, I think cope might be the wrong word, but being under the spotlight, you seem to be a lot more comfortable in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of had to learn that as that part.
Sorry, it's my fault.
What happened?
I know you had to learn, so it's like, it's my fault. I forced you to.
Oh, that, yeah. I mean, yeah, that is true. I mean, goddamn, I was not in a happy state at that time. I just stupidly chatted in Twitch chat, and it's just, went from being a 10-minute watch along to being a 12-hour watch along with me and you. But I think, well, I mean, I still hate the spotlight. I still hate the attention, right? I still hate the way, I don't know. It's just me. I'm a little bit weird with that. I just don't like people sort of having eyeballs on me, or too many eyeballs on me, to be honest. And I just can't really handle it too much because I hate it in school. Like, for example, presentations and everything. I just felt like I could literally crumble in front of everyone. I couldn't quite handle it. But I'm getting used to it right now. I mean, I see that a lot of people have a lot of love for all of us. Some people also have very bad stuff to say, but we ban those, we time out those, we tell them they're idiots, and I mean, we're having fun doing so, right? But it's getting better, and I hope I can learn more from it. Maybe I can become a little bit more sociable, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Let's say maybe more in a more closed environment like the voice chat.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're ever gonna get a perfect social Kevin Siggi, but it's a work in progress. And I guess that brings me to my next point. How important do you believe that side of sim racing is? Marketing yourself, being good in interviews, being able to grow yourself as a person, aside from the results and aside from the practice.
I mean, I guess it's obviously it is fairly important to do so. I mean, you need to be good in interviews to know what to say, what not to say. Obviously, I try to be as open as I can be, but there's obviously limits to it, what you can say. But also, from the marketing standpoint, you need to obviously present the team and their sponsors in a very good light. And yeah, I mean, you have to train for that sort of, and you are going to make mistakes along the way, say something stupid, like I have done sometimes, or have done something stupid, judging by those cars. But also, yeah, I mean, it's important for yourself to grow as a person, grow as a athlete, let's say. I mean, we are, at the end of the day, athletes. For any future opportunities, if they come along in 5, 10, 15 years, whether it's real motorsport or more in sim racing with other teams or other things that I might be able to do with Redline in the future that I've been trying to sort of get the experience from and learn, so I can continue building on myself. So it is quite important to have all these combined experiences and skills to sort of excel as an individual, whether it's just driving itself or being an engineer or the boss, the manager, whatever. So yeah, all of that is very important.
That's, we literally had a conversation about this a couple of months ago, didn't we? And we come to the conclusion that we don't really know what the shelf life of a sim racer is yet, because we haven't gone through a strong enough generation to know what the drop off is or when it is. Like for instance, football, it's around about 35, where the average would be where people drop off in terms of their performance. Obviously, you get the high end, like Ronaldo didn't drop off, and you get lads at 30 that or Rooney was 31, 32 years old. But the average is about 35. But we just don't know in sim racing. So it's very important that people do try and improve themselves in other areas if they want to continue to, utilize sim racing as their living.
Yeah, I mean, shelf life, like we talked about. Yeah, it's quite hard to judge. I mean, you've got people like Max Benecke. He's not the youngest bloke in the sim racing world, but he's doing very, very well for himself in a lot of ways. And there's others that are also getting quite old for esports, for an esports age, for example, right? Because if you look at Call of Duty, you got people that are retiring at the age of 22, 23, 24 to delve into content, right? But I think the shelf life of a sim racer is just a little bit longer, probably, same as it is for, let's say, real racing. I mean, because I don't think people can really do football in their 60s, right? But a gentleman driver can do a bit of racing in their 60s still. That's quite old, right? For something like that. I mean, you see people like Fernando Alonso still doing it with when he's like, I think 43 now, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So it is quite important. But in the esports scene, like Max has mentioned a couple of times, also it's probably sometimes even harder to be winning in esports, because you're pretty much trying to go around the lap within fine margins, and you have to be so on the loop with the details, with everything. You need to learn all these small little tricks to go around the circuit as fast as you can, whether it's, tiny lockups, tiny slides and everything. So it can sometimes get a bit harder mentally as well, because nowadays also with the equipment, it gets slightly physically stronger or like harder as well, because people do 5-hour stints with, direct drive wheels, which are getting quite heavy nowadays. And the way you set it up is also your preference. So yeah, for myself, I still don't feel like there's any time to stop in the near future. Whether it's gonna take me 5, 10, 15 years to retire, we'll wait and see. Maybe there's also time for some other ventures in the future. But so far, it's hard to judge, and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, you're nowhere near retirement, mate, but we are going to reflect on your career a little bit here. So in the intro, I gave you a massive build-up, and it was great. Honestly, I felt like Michael Buffer. But
keyword massive as well, yeah.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. I knew it.
No,
doesn't even matter if it's not a Redline channel. You're still gonna
have to be said, mate.
Yeah, what is your? We are going to get to the low light, Kev. Don't worry. But what is your highlight of your career so far?
Well, the highlight, obviously, last year's EWC Drivers' Championship. There's after all the downfalls since the start of 23, after we won LMVS, everything was pretty much a downfall. Even though we won the team championship, it was still a good achievement that in 2023 in Munich. But personally, it wasn't. I was still missing something, and now I finally got something that's quite important for my career and for myself, for my own sanity. And I'm obviously not going to stop grinding for more championships. There's still more to gain for Team Redline. But also for myself, luckily, for 2 years I've been trying to reach the top again, ever since that downfall. And yeah, it's obviously been very important to win that. So that's definitely the biggest one that I've achieved so far. There's many. There's over like 16 championships that I've won, regardless if it's from 2014, where some things don't matter as much as they do now. But it's still something that has built my career. In a sense, that's the reason why I'm here. So yeah,
I think if EWC is a world championship, I believe that you've won 4 world championships on 4 different titles. You've won multiple world championships, but you've won it on 4 different games, which I don't think there's anyone in sim racing that's achieved that. Maybe someone who has. But
there's actually 5, I think. 5 games.
Copy. Here we go.
We can say 4 or 5, whatever. I think it's at the course of the old. Actually, no, it is true. I did win E10R and I said the course at the old one, the OG. Yeah, so that is 5 now. Yeah.
I don't think anyone else can. Yeah, I think when people think of their top, like their Mount Rushmore top 4, top 5 sim racers, I think you probably get overlooked a little bit. And I think that achievement last year, and I tweeted about it. To be fair, I did. As much as I like to give you as much stick as we give each other. I said I think you need to be considered as maybe one of the best. I know you're not going to admit to it, and you want to shy away from that kind of spotlight, right?
Never.
So again, in the comments, guys, I would like for you all to give me maybe your top 4 or 5 sim racers, and we will have a quick discussion about that in a minute as well with Kevin. So we have the massive highlight. Let's talk about the biggest lowlight. I'm going to tell you what I think your biggest lowlight is, and I'm sure you'll agree. It's where you won a championship, you gained an amazing prize, and it just didn't happen. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I'll let you explain it to the chat, but yeah, it was horrific.
It's just absolutely hilarious, isn't it? At the end of the day, I wasn't really too bothered with it, right? Because I had other personal issues that I had to deal with. But, to keep it short, I've been doing DTM eSports for a while, since 2017, when I believe it was the first time that I did it on Race Room. And I've won one already in 2018, and then like a special event in 2019-20. But in 2022, I've won the DTM eSports. And obviously I got the chance to go on. We had like a little LAN event thing. It's not really a LAN event, but 2 little special events that we did on Red Bull Ring, where we drove the actual M2 Cup car and the M4 GT4. And then we did some sort of like fitness and media training in Lausitz Ring at the time when I met you again.
Good time.
And then, yeah, amazing times. But obviously, got that prize of DTM trophy, the full season, apparently paid for, right, by DTM themselves, and helped with the media market at the time, but also that company was going into its bankruptcy era, and at the end of the year, without even me knowing, everything got terminated. And I haven't gotten any email about it. I had to sort of reach out to the people working at the company that unfortunately went bankrupt, and they told me, yeah, it's been terminated. There's a new owner. He's not going to do anything with it. So good luck. Thanks for joining, right? And that was it. That was just literally one day I saw an article saying this company is having its downfall, it's going into bankruptcy, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean, right? So I asked a couple of people. I was like, yeah, that's it. It's over. It's GG, and it sort of was GG. I mean, didn't really bother too much chasing for it because didn't really find a reason to spend money on anything or my own time. I just focused on the other things that were happening that I was doing with Redline at the time, and I was doing multiple championships. So it was just time to focus on that. And it was quite unfortunate because I really wanted to drive in real life for once and at least get the experience, but didn't really get it. I mean, it is what it is. That's the jungle, we call it.
I was looking forward to commentating on you, mate. But I found out via the same article that also I wasn't a part of DTM anymore.
Yeah, we had the same issue, didn't we? So I mean, we both got sort of sacked in a sense. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? Who cares about that now?
Yeah, of course.
Still got good things afterwards. So let's see if there's anything in the future. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I mean, that's how life goes.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And obviously, that's actually got nothing to do with the eSports organisers of DTM eSports either. Like they were hands tied. It was actually DTM themselves. So
yeah, nothing to do with Race Room. I've been given the explanation by them as well. So whatever happened, it happened. It was unfortunate. I don't think it was malicious in any ways. It was just unfortunate.
What does the future hold for you then, Kevin? What is the next 12 months? What does it look like for you?
I don't know, honestly. We're waiting for anything to come along. We're obviously trying to see if there's anything on the horizon, anything more to that can open doors. Maybe Le Mans Ultimate can bring something. Maybe Zelda Corsa Evo can bring something as well, because I think after testing the beta or early access, I think it feels quite nice. But let's see what the esports scene is going to be at, right? When it comes to internally with Redline, no idea yet. I'm still yet to know about that. I think a couple of things are obviously in the works that can't be shared, but I mean, I'm obviously doing coaching. That's no secret, I don't think, and been doing it pretty well. Got a couple of people that I've made happy with, and also made good contacts with. So, but the future on the short run or the long run, I have absolutely no idea what's happening. I just go on day by day. I look at the calendar. I'm like, yep, tomorrow's the 28th. I'm just gonna, that's whatever the birthday brings, right? I just don't look at the future because why should I?
Fair enough, Kevin. Kevin's always pretty straight to the point, guys. I'll give you that.
I mean, I looked at the future, right, for DTM trophy, and you know what happened, right? I'm just like, ever since that point, I'm like, screw it. Tomorrow, whatever's happening, tomorrow's happening.
You have no idea, Kev. Like, that was my living.
No idea.
That was literally my living. Like, I could live off of just that championship, and that was the best job I ever had. And I know exactly how you feel, mate. It's horrendous. It sucks. But
thank you. Right. It does.
Let's just do day by day. In all fairness,
might as well.
Apart from you, we're going to take you out of the equation. We are now going to do your top 5 sim racers of all time, and I'll also get involved with this. Chat in the comments, please, whether you're whatever platform you're watching on. Maybe even want to respond to the tweets that the Facebook post or the Instagram post. What this is going to be put on as to what your top 5 are. But Kevin, who is your top 5?
And what? Well, do you want me to do like top 5 sim racers in general as drivers, or
just like
actual influencers as well? Like,
it could be anything. So like, I've got like James Baldwin. I've put in there because not only has he achieved some unbelievable things, I think he has taken the marketing of a sim racer to a whole different level. I think you have to throw that in there. I put powerhouse in there because I just think his longevity is unbelievable. Now more of an engineer, I guess. But I'm sure we'll see him compete again. He's not like he's slow by any stretch of the imagination. I think Sebi and Josh Rogers, those two, just because of just pace. And I'm allowed to put you in, so I'm putting you in. So it would be, if I have you out, Enzo would go in because of what he achieved when he did the crossover of the Race of Champions. Plus, he's done Formula One eSports, he's done iRacing, he's just done everything, right? But if it would be very tight between you two for being in the top 5, so I'd be 10, to be honest. But that's my 5.
I would never mind if no one puts me top 5, so long as they acknowledge that I've done something well for the sim racing scene. That's enough. Could care less if I'm top 3, 2, or 1. But yeah, that's a hard one because there's so many people that have influenced sim racing in a way. Because we got people like, Dom Duhan, we got Max, you got Max
ever.
Yeah, Max Otze as well in the background. Even though he's not sim racing anymore properly, and competing wise, I mean, he's doing so many things in the background that's elevating Team Redline in such a way where now we're the influence in the sim racing scene. So it's very hard to pick. But I'd rather just pick the drivers themselves, right? The sheer talent themselves. Obviously, it's also hard to put Max on it because Max is a real driver at the end of the day, right? Even though sometimes we call him an actual sim racer and a real racer hobbyist, a gentleman driver.
They have to get.
Yeah,
we have to let him go to Formula every
yeah,
week.
exactly. But it's very hard to judge for me. I mean, you got people like Max Peneke would definitely be in the top 5. I think he's obviously very smart and very obviously very talented. And he's doing a lot he's doing very well in all the sims that he does. Maybe R Factor, he wasn't like, the top of the top in times in LMBS, but in Rennsport and iRacing, he's been, over there, the very first guy to get 10K iRating. I would probably say he's one of the guys in top 5. Josh Rogers as well, like you've mentioned, also someone that does a lot of sims, that does very, very well at. There's no doubt that he's one of the best there. He's doing very, very well on Rennsport and iRacing in general. But even our factor, even though I almost always beat him, or my teammates have, he's still been very, very strong there. So he's a fierce competitor. Sebi, amazing talent, very lovely guy. Definitely, whoever doesn't pick him as top 5 is, a bit odd. But I love Sevi. I love his work ethic.
Not bad bone in his body, is there?
No, definitely not. No, I think he's a wonderful guy to work with, and very hard to beat. And it's also, annoying sometimes to get beaten by him because it's always the case where he's the benchmark. So luckily in range where I've been the benchmark, or Ben has been the benchmark sometimes, so he had to caught up. But yeah, almost 99% of the time he's just there all the time. But who's next? There's 2 more, right? You can say Bono.
Has to be,
obviously.
Is your rivalry with him over the years?
We didn't really have a rivalry, I would say. Never really. We always got along. There's
rivalry in competing. Not. I know you guys get on, but
you think?
Rivalry... Mate, you two.
I don't think there was, to be honest, because he started off in Formula SimRacing, right? I guess on our factor in some cases, Formula Pro was definitely the one where we were going one-on-one, and he called me a cheater, which was quite hilarious. But he never meant anything bad with it. He always laugh about it when that season comes along. In season 1, he absolutely slapped me, right? But he's achieved a lot in Formula SimRacing at the time in R Factor 1 when he started off. But now being an engineer, and also still doing a bit of Rennsport. It's always lovely to see him on the grid, and I have nothing but respect for him. We get along very well. And yeah, there's definitely, I would say, maybe not as good as people like Josh or Beneke, but in games like R Factor, he is someone you have to be sort of, concerned about when he joins the server and, starts putting up very, very good laps, because he's just very good at those games. And the 5th guy, well, it's always a difficult one, the 5th guy. difficult to choose because you have a lot of people, right? You have a lot of people such as Can Say Max.
I think the good thing here is
because he's
10 years ago, this would have been such an easy, just there's pretty much only 5, whereas now there are just
pretty much.
so
There's a lot, right?
many.
You got Freddy, you have Yarno. Those two are very, very, very good in F1 eSports. I mean, that's Freddy won it last year and had many second places, but still, I mean, it's just a bit of unlucky situations. Also, Yarno with 2 championships, I think he won, or
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. If it's 3, it's 2. Okay. Yes, there's many people that it's just so difficult to choose from, and yeah,
It's too tough.
Yeah, it is quite tough. I mean, I would probably I need to go with Freddy still, I think.
Yeah.
I would love to say Rudy, but unfortunately he didn't really do much in iRacing. He didn't do much in he almost never did anything in Race Room. Just R Factor, but Rudy, if you're ever listening to this, lovely to that. You're a wonderful guy. You're amazing. But I think maybe let's say Freddy Rasmussen as the 5th guy I will choose, because he's just that kind of guy where it doesn't necessarily scream talent, or I just don't want to, kind of put a bad light on him, but like you don't necessarily go and look at him and be like, oh, he's going to be a threat, and then he comes on and he's just like, absolutely rip him lap times, and then you kind of get concerned about it, and you see how insane he actually can be on raw pace. So as someone that's sometimes usually underrated a lot, but I think nowadays he's getting up to that point where people actually do respect him in every sim that he touches. I mean, he's been very good in iRacing back in the day. Unfortunately left that scene for F1 eSports, but he's been doing very well. Won the championship last year, so I think he deserves to be in the top 5 in a lot of people's top 5 books. But for me, he gets it, let's say.
Christ, I commentated on him in a LAN event in Austria on Project Cars. Like, this guy, Freddie is just good at everything. But he's like the SimRacing Stig. Just no emotions. Like, you don't hear anything from him. Doesn't talk a lot. Not interested in anything outside of it. Doesn't want to do any interviews. Doesn't care any about that bollocks. He is just the SimRacing. I'm quick. I'm going to win. Then I'm disappearing. And even if he wins, he doesn't even want to deal with the, oh, yeah, I'm great. It's just cool. Yeah, you couldn't.
Yeah,
if you saw the end of a race, if you saw the end of a race and you finished 11th and then 1st, and you showed both of the ending of those races on his camera, you have no idea which is which.
Yeah, it's just a carbon copy of the same picture all the time. It's like he won. Great. I got lost. Actually, if he gets dead last or does a mistake, I think the screen actually kind of feels that.
There is no camera.
There is no camera. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I think the monitor needs to be very careful when whenever he gets like an unlucky moment. But it's the only small difference he has.
No, amazing stuff. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for giving us all of your time. I know you've just moved house this week as well, so as you can see in the background, he's got a new. It's not in the tree house anymore. For the red light.
No tree house, no. But I still have the red lights though. Actually, let me put those.
Oh, here we go. Light show time.
Yeah. Because I bought like ceiling lights that are actually smart, so I can do anything I want with them. I can turn them red.
Oh, unbelievable!
Perfectly red, and I've got also the Rosers preset, which makes it into this. I'm not sure what people might think, my neighbors.
I don't know.
But yeah, I've got the siren.
Edit this and think, what is the ending of this podcast?
Hey, it's brilliant. You got purple, you got pink. It's beautiful. I love it. Anyways, yeah. No more treehouse for me. That's a done deal. Never again.
No.
I'm done with that building, even though it saved me from a lot of issues, because I lived in a pretty rough little place ever since I moved to Tilburg. But yeah, now it's brilliant. This gaff is amazing. I love it.
I'll have to come over and we'll have to have a little housewarming, watch a film together.
Feel free.
Popcorn. Lovely.
Feel free. The couch. Actually, I'm not sure what the kilo load is next door.
Right, anyway, thank you very much, everyone who's been watching. Where can everyone find you on social media, Kev?
Just Kevin Siggi on X, Twitter, whatever it's called, Instagram. Nothing else really. Just the standard. Even on Discord, I think it's also Kevin Siggi. I forgot. Doesn't matter. Just those 2 basic ones. But otherwise, it's just Team Redline, Team Redline Sim on a lot of socials. You see us on Twitch anyways, so you see me there the most. I usually never post anyways because I'm not that kind of guy. But no, whatever you want to do.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Kev. And to people watching, make sure that you do leave a like and leave a little comment on whatever platform you're watching, or whether it be on social media or indeed on platforms you're actually watching this podcast. If you've got any ideas as to who you want on the podcast, please let us know in the comments. And if you want to let us know if you enjoyed this or not, well, if you didn't enjoy it, don't bother telling us, actually. Just only if you enjoyed it. But yeah, thank you again, Kevin. And maybe we'll catch you another time. But good luck for 2025.
Thanks, mate.